Mahajan, and I'm gonna today present on Introduction to Knowledge Engineering. This is a slide from a knowledge engineering course at Pulchowk, in Pulchowk campus, Triveni University Institute of Engineering. So today I'm gonna present on our first topic, Introduction to Knowledge Engineering. So let's start. So talking about knowledge engineering, so there is two part, knowledge and engineering. So let's talk about what is knowledge. So whenever we talk about knowledge, maybe you have a heard of two other terms, data and information. So uh, if you they may sound at first sight sound similar, but they are different things, and they differ in terms of the value that is contained uh, in this them, or value they contain. So for data, we think it as only as a raw signal. So if you are, for example, in Morse code, this is SOS example, three dot and three dashes and three dot starts for SOS. So that is a dash and dots are kind of a raw signal, and they are data. If we then interpret, we are able to successfully interpret this raw information, and we know that the SOS stands for save our solar. It is asking for help. Then we like converted data to information, and knowledge. Maybe we must be able to decide what we must do when we find out some kind of information. So if someone is sending save our soul, what will we do? Maybe we should start a rescue operation. So that is the difference between data, information, and knowledge. So data, it's referred to the actual signal that's being sent, and information is the actual representation of that signal, while knowledge is the thing that we must do after we receive this information. So uh, knowledge can be defined as the explicit functional association between the items of information and a data, and it's this definition was given by Debenham in 1988. So, the what is knowledge has been debated by philosopher from long time ago. So traditional quotient has been analyzed by philosophers, psychologists, and even linguists. So the questions maybe what is knowledge itself, and what do people have inside their head when they know something, right? If someone if what is the difference between a baby and an adult human? When baby does not know even how to stand, maybe does not know that the things they are seeing around them are real. uh, when a baby knows that in 24 hours sun rises from the east and sets in the west, is there some change in the mental state, or a physical change in the brain itself, right? And the other part of the thing is knowledge, can it be expressed in words? So if it is like a fact that sun rises from east and sun sets in the west, it can be expressed in words. But how to ride a bicycle, how to swim, they cannot really be expressed in words. Even though they are expressed, you can't just act on that knowledge. You must go and practice itself, right? So maybe how to balance your body, how to walk straight. You can when you ask someone how to when you ask someone how should you balance yourself in 2 feet and walk, you really don't have any answer because you just practice and get that knowledge, right? So uh, if so in, yeah, so similarly, like if we it is easier to show how to tie a shoestring and hit a baseball than explain them, right? So that type of knowledge is can be also classified as knowledge. If knowledge is not expressed in word, how can it be transmitted in knowledge? This is also major question because we are in the field of knowledge engineering, right? So this plays an important part. So how is knowledge related to the world? So how knowledge is used in this world is also an important aspect. And what is the relationship between the external world knowledge in the head and the language used to express knowledge about the world? Can they are like can they be can our head grasp all the knowledge in the world, and can all the knowledge that we have in our head can be expressed in in a human spoken language that's currently used in this world? So these are the topics that we should like think about or concentrate about, right? So uh, so the thing that we are like most interested in knowing in regards to the knowledge engineering is, can the knowledge be programmed digital in computer? Because if we can, only then we have the job of knowledge engineering, right? So can computers encode and decode knowledge in ordinary language? And also can they use it to interact with people and with other computer system in a more flexible or helpful way? So our objective as a knowledge engineer is to use the knowledge or assist human beings to use the knowledge, but can this be done? So this is the question that we should be thinking about in this lecture or this slide presentation. So information processing view of knowledge. So one of the proposed view of knowledge is this one. So there is actually three views: views, reverse hierarchical view, and non-hierarchical view. So let's look at the hierarchical view first. So what does the hierarchical view says is, from low level of knowledge, data can be termed as the lower portion of knowledge. When we get what we when we accumulate data, we get information from it, and when we get information, we then convert that into a knowledge information. So this is the hierarchical view. So information is the input or raw material of a new knowledge, whereas a knowledge is authenticated and personalized information. Because because and when we get some kind of information, and from our experience we know how should we act in such type of when we get such type of information. So this is a hierarchical view of information processing view of knowledge, right? Because and there is another reverse hierarchical view. So this is just opposite. So what does it say is, when we are uh, knowledgeable, we can use that knowledge to create a kind of new system, or we generate a new kind of data. So maybe for example, when we are trying to measure the temperature, right? uh, we should know that the can we quantify those something as hotness and coldness. Because when we are just a baby, we will just know when by tossing whether the object is cold or hot, right? But we have used the method of comparing with the uh, temperature of ice and temperature of steam to create some kind of quantifiable object, and that can be like that is used like wide around the world for uh, not just to define the weather, but to define how things behave all around the world in physics, right? So this is an kind of reverse hierarchical view which says that the knowledge must exist before information can be formulated and before data can be collected, right? So there is also non-hierarchical view of data, a non-hierarchical view of knowledge, and that is that uh, data, the process of conversion of data to information requires knowledge. So it must be that, for example, when we are 15 degrees celsius and uh, when you say that today's weather is 15 degrees celsius, it requires knowledge that what is the uh, normal temperature uh, to say that whether we will feel cold or we will feel hot today. Uh, so that is a kind of knowledge that must be within us before that data can be turned into an information, right? So knowledge is needed in converting the data into information. So knowledge can be also uh, is the accumulation of experience versus knowledge is created through conjectures and refutations, right? So this is the information processing view of knowledge. So alternate perspective of knowledge is so instead of information processing view, right, we have others who have expressed knowledge in different perspective, right? uh, so it could be like a state of mind, right? So if a person is knows to do something or understands something, maybe the state of the mind is there is kind of knowledge. So right, so another could be like an object, right? Knowledge can be like knowledge, if it's a kind of an object, it can be like stored and it can be manipulated, right? Because a knowledge is contained in a book, so book contains knowledge, right? So it is an object kind of view. Knowledge is a process, right? So knowledge could be think of it as a process that a uh, skilled manpower uses, and uh, knowledge can also be thought of as a condition. Knowledge is organized access to and retrieval of content, right? So uh, so in which condition we need to we need to do something, maybe it's kind of a comparison, right? Knowledge, you have all the conditions or all the experience in the world, and you just try to match to one of them and say, oh, this is similar to something something that I experienced in the past, so uh, I should act like something something to avoid doing something something, or I should act in this methods to for this to happen, right? So that is kind of another perspective. So knowledge can also be thought of as a capability to do some kind of action, right? Knowledge is potential to so knowledge can be defined as a justified belief that increases an entity's capacity for effective action, right? So knowledge can be thought of in the following terms as well, or people have thought of in the following terms as well. So and let's look at some of the way that knowledge is defined as well. Knowledge could be explicit. So all the explicit knowledge can be transferred in the form of formal human languages, right? So we can write knowledge. This kind of explicit knowledge can be expressed in books, expressed through some kind of this kind of presentation, but there are some kind of knowledge we can't really express it in our um, human language. It is like ingrained deep within us, uh, in our actions, in our experience, and uh, in our involvement in specific contents, right? So it usually consists of our cognitive element like mental models and technical elements, right? So uh, uh, it consists of something like how to balance yourself in two feet, right? So uh, that is kind of how to run fast, how to swim, how to ride a bike. All these things could be a tacit knowledge. And maybe how to cook a food, and how to like make a delicious food. This could be a tacit knowledge. And knowledge could be also individual knowledge or social knowledge, right? So individual knowledge is created by and exists in individual, whereas social knowledge is created by and exists in collaborative actions of a group. So uh, like social knowledge could be like uh, when uh, when there is some kind of pandemic, right? Like COVID-19 pandemic, maybe it's a good time uh, to wash your uh, right, to go don't go outside much, and maintain a social distancing, right? So this kind of like it's kind of social knowledge. So society influence uh, acts, all of the individual acts in some kind of way. So maybe in past, when we were in the when human were in the forest, people don't know how to uh, make a fire and cook a food, right? So to cook a food, the social knowledge of cooking a food increased. So from if we see across time, we see that in various level of science, and our knowledge has social knowledge has increased as well. And individual knowledge is the capabilities that individual have, where social knowledge can be considered as the capability the society have. So we can also define or like classify the knowledge in five types. It Our knowledge could be declarative. It can be like declarative that declares fact. Knowledge could be procedural, like it's what should be done in 1 2 3 4 steps that should be done to complete a task. And knowledge could be a causal knowledge, saying if you do something, uh, do something, something will happen, right? uh, so that's kind of knowledge is called. And if or if it could be conditional knowledge, right? When we do something, something will happen. And uh, when sun rises, when sun rises, it will be bright, something like that, right? Relation. And it could be also relational knowledge, right? And the most interesting or more that the thing that we are kind of starting today is the meta knowledge. It's a knowledge about knowledge itself, right? And maybe it could be like how knowledge is stored, how we what different kinds of knowledge, and if there is some kind of knowledge that we can grasp faster, and some kind of knowledge that we don't. So all this falls on meta knowledge, right? So one of the thing that we are concerned as a knowledge engineering is the transfer of knowledge, right? So we have already said that there are two kind of knowledge: tacit knowledge and explicit knowledge. And tacit knowledge can be transferred as a tacit knowledge or an explicit knowledge. And explicit knowledge can be transferred as tacit knowledge and explicit knowledge. So there is a Seki mode, right? There's which stands for socialization, externalization, combination, and internalization. From the process of socialization, we convert tacit knowledge to tacit knowledge, whereas from the process of externalization, we convert tacit knowledge to explicit knowledge. From the process of explicit for combination, we gain explicit knowledge from an explicit knowledge, and when we internalize explicit knowledge, we gain tacit knowledge. So if we are to see this, we want the uh, society to function properly, right? Because our society can be termed the health of our society can be seen as the way the could be seen as the way the information is shared and grown in the society, right? So if we so for for the mushroom growth of the knowledge, there should be socialization, externalization, combination, and internalization, and this cycle should go on forever. Otherwise, we would not have mushroom growth of our social knowledge, right? So after this general introduction of meta knowledge of knowledge, what is knowledge engineering? So knowledge engineering is a discipline that involves the integration of this kind of knowledge into computer system in order to solve complex problems normally requiring a high level of human expertise, right? So as a knowledge engineering, what we develop some kind of computer system that is able to store those knowledge and act upon it, right? So we can also say that knowledge engineering is a process of developing knowledge based system. So the knowledge based system refers to the storage of knowledge, uh, and which could be like applied in any field, whether it be a public or private sector, in commerce or in industry, right? So this has been taken from respective books, right? So knowledge engineering, the process of knowledge engineering consists of uh, these steps, right? First we process of eliciting, that is collecting, and after collecting we need to provide some structure to our structure the knowledge, and we need to formalize it or code it, um, and then we need to like use the knowledge. So operationalizing, I think it's the next step. So information and knowledge involved in a knowledge intensive program domain in order to construct a program that can perform a difficult task adequately, right? So what is the importance of proper knowledge engineering, right? So knowledge is a valuable and often outlives particular implementation, right? So the progress of human society depends on the knowledge that we accumulated, or the knowledge our ancestor accumulated and stored in books or something, right? We can like retrieve or we can like regain, and then we can reuse or develop or gain more knowledge based on it. By that process we have reached to this level of development or this level of ability to use the natural resources, and we have this kind of lifestyle today. So uh, so uh, if we do the same thing uh, in computer system, and uh, unlike books, right, unlike books and unlike the lectures, if we are able to operationalize those knowledge or use that knowledge, uh, then it's some kind of amazing or the next revolution in our process of knowledge passing system in our society. So for that, knowledge engineering and knowledge management is important if you are able to do that properly, right? So uh, also knowledge engineering is important because when we are developing such kind of system, if there is some kind of error in knowledge base, which usually happens because our understanding of something can change over time, right? we thought uh, we thought or we believed that art was the center and heavenly bodies move around them, right? And we kind of formulate some kind of mathematics, and that could have explained the position of stars, right? But that was wrong, and there was some kind of adjustment that we need to do to explain all the stuffs, right? So but not the error of that kind could not can be cannot be such kind of trivial cases, because it could, if you are implementing knowledge based system that cares of humans health, then it could be deadly as well. So we should be careful, and knowledge based engineers should be like should handle those kind of changes, should be able to like quickly handle, right? So also we need to be able to have the heavy demand on the extensibility and the maintenance. As our knowledge grows and our uh, knowledge changes over time, right? So problem in knowledge engineering, like what we have is knowledge is like really complex. All human people cannot like grasp or get all the knowledge in present in our society, all the things that we know, right? Because therefore we like specialize. Some people have some kind of knowledge and go through the some PhD process and get some kind of knowledge, others go to another sector, right? So knowledge itself is like complex information, and it's really difficult to absorb them, right? So as a knowledge engineer, maybe understanding the know-hows of doctor may be difficult for you, right? And but we need to do it. uh, we need, as a knowledge engineer, you should be able to deal with such kind of issue. So there are multiple experts and other source, and they may differ as well, right? So they may have some kind of personal experience, and they are sharing some stuff, and they may clash with each other as well. So we need to take care of that. So there is other information source could be like textbook, graphical representative, heuristic, skill, and there may be multiple and not just multiple conflicting knowledge shared to us as well. So we need to handle those situation as well, right? So we have the process of it's normally like when we are developing a knowledge based system, we have to we go through 5 steps. First is the acquisition stage, then there is which is the like process of acquiring the knowledge from the expert. Then we need to validate those knowledge, and we need to somehow represent those knowledge in a formal structure, and then infer be able to infer from those represented knowledge, and not only infer and get the result, but we need to be able to explain and justify how we came to that specific conclusion. So this is like 5 steps in a knowledge engineering. So like every like modern, since the modern science has been developed, so the knowledge engineering field has corresponds to the history of knowledge management is related to computer science. So in from art to the discipline, right? So it started as a 1965 as a general purpose search engine, and in 1975, like fostering a rule-based system, Mycene XCON were developed, and then emergence of in 1985 there was emergence of structured method like early cats, and there is in 1995 to now, right? We followed the mature methodologies like common cats, which we are going to learn in the. So what is knowledge based system? So I think we it has already come up before as well. So knowledge based system is a system that involves artificial intelligence techniques in problem solving, in process to support human decision making, learning and action, right? So it is just a collection of knowledge, and that is stored in a such a way that it will help us in using that knowledge. So there is for that we have two central components of knowledge based system, that is knowledge based that just contains all the things that we know, facts, rules, frames and procedures, while the inference engine is responsible for applying those knowledge base to a problem at hand. And so there are certain pros and cons of KBS and compared to human expertise, right? So which we can deal with later. So knowledge engineering versus knowledge management. So as a term, there is different term is engineering and management. So engineering deals with like process of creation of something. So knowledge engineering is primarily concerned with the construction of knowledge based system, while knowledge management is primarily concerned with identifying and leveraging knowledge to organize benefit. So management usually decides what kind of information that we need, or what kind of uh, says what kind of knowledge is necessary, like that is valuable and how we can leverage them, right? But the knowledge engineering aspect deals with construction of knowledge base, how we can store them and how we can use them, right? It does not concern with the importance of knowledge, and and or it does not concentrate of the value or the monetary aspect, economic aspect of creating using those knowledge, right, that we can get from that knowledge. So knowledge engineering and knowledge management activities are inherently interrelated, right? um, Knowledge engineers are interested in what technologies are needed to meet the expertise and knowledge management needs, right? So in terms of knowledge engineering, we had two views of knowledge engineering. uh, we thought that knowledge could be stored and knowledge could be gained. Knowledge engineering is the process of transferring the experts knowledge into computer and use them. This is kind of a traditional view. In this view, the key idea is to apply conventional knowledge engineering techniques to transfer human knowledge into the computerized system. But we face some kind of problem, and the problem is maybe we can't really transfer accurately. So there is another kind of view, that is modeling view. In this view, knowledge engineering attempts to model the knowledge and problem solving techniques of a domain expert into a computerized system, and maybe we just gradually improve upon them, right? So uh, f- this modeling view, like, it's more geared towards helping expert uh, to utilize the knowledge in that kind of sector, right? So maybe, yeah, since the knowledge of human society is growing at rapid rate, maybe we can help experts using knowledge, because our memory is like very poor and computer's memory is very good, right? And computer can work tirelessly to match with the old records, and uh, human beings accuracy is not really good in this kind of aspect, right? So maybe we can have it expert with knowledge engineering. So so I have already discussed like transfer view of knowledge engineering, like extracting knowledge from human experts and mining the jewel in the expert's head, right? And transferring this knowledge into knowledge based system, right? So expert is asks what the rules are applicable, translation known as to rule format, right? We convert them to some kind of rule that can be stored and applied in. So there is some kind of problem. The knowledge providers and knowledge engineer and knowledge system developers should share a common view on the problem solving process and a common vocabulary, right? And that is kind of difficult because as a human, it is very difficult to have all the knowledge that gain all the knowledge that's in the society, right? And which is kind of demanded for the perfect transfer of knowledge, and it's kind of impossible. As in other words, to make knowledge transfer a viable uh, way of knowledge engineering, right? It's really difficult. So roles in knowledge system development, right? So there is a human expert, that's a kind of knowledge provider, and knowledge engineer or analyst, right? Who likes formalize those knowledge, acquires and formalize those knowledge system developer actually implements those formal structure in uh, a system, right? Knowledge user who use the system, and project manager is one who sets the resources required for developing the system, while knowledge manager defines, he like sets the goal of the whole organization, and what we are doing with knowledge, what kind of knowledge that we need, where we need to improve, something like that, right? So we have many to many relation between roles and people. So knowledge provider is like traditional expert. They are the traditional expert. They are persons with expertise, extensive experience in an application domain, and can provide also plan for that domain familiarization. Right? They can give you the knowledge. Inter-provider differences are common and need to assume assure cooperation. So we need to like cooperate with them to create a knowledge based system. So knowledge engineer are like specific kind of system analyst, right? Should avoid becoming an expert because they are not really expert. They are like good at acquiring the knowledge and converting in some formal uh, structure, right? So plays a liaison function between application and domain system. So those formulas. So knowledge engineer are responsible for obtaining the knowledge from human experts and then entering the knowledge into some form of KBS, right? Knowledge based system. In developing KBS, the knowledge engineer must apply methods, use tools, apply quality control and standards, plan and manage project, and take into account the human, financial, and environmental constraints. Requires skills of knowledge engineers could be like how to represent knowledge representation, fact finding, right? Knowledge elicited human skills because we need to communicate, visualization skill because we will be able to visualize what he have learned, and he also need to analyze, and he must also be creative, and he must also um, have some kind of manager skill as. So knowledge system developers uh, is as a person that implements the knowledge system on a particular target platform. Like they decide how those knowledge are stored and how those knowledge can be uh, used, and they are usually concerned with the general design and have the implementation expertise, needs to understand how knowledge is analyzed, but only on use level. The role is often played by knowledge engineers. So although uh, uh, although uh, there are different roles, um, in small or in small project, maybe knowledge engineers have to do this job as well, right? So knowledge user are like primary users that interacts with knowledge based system, right? So uh, we can also divide them into primary and secondary user, based on whether they are affected directly or indirectly uh, by the result of the knowledge based system, right? Level of skill and knowledge that they have is also important, and may need expert extensive interacting facilities like explanation for them, right? His and her work is often affected by the system, and they are the one using them, so uh, they depend on this knowledge based system. So we should be like uh, actively interact with them as well during the process. So project manager is responsible for planning, scheduling, monitoring the development work, and talking with the clients that give that's gonna ultimately provide economical value to that KBS, right? So typically, a project will consider 4 to 6 people and profits from structure approach, right? So they uh, decide on uh, how much effort we put on something, so that will be profitable, something like that, right? So knowledge manager is a background role. Uh, so what does knowledge manager do? Does is it ESC monitors organizational purpose of systems developed in a project, knowledge assess, develop and refine, initiates follow-up projects, right? Should play a key role in the reuse, may help in setting up the right project team, right? So if we look at this graphically, right? So knowledge engineer like defines knowledge strategy, initiates knowledge development project, facilitate knowledge distribution, right? So there is a project manager who manages knowledge engineer or analyst, and he delivers he like gains knowledge from knowledge provider or specialist, and then kind of develops a knowledge model to us a knowledge system developer, and he like insert in the knowledge based systems, or he designs a knowledge based system that can infer from the knowledge in the knowledge delivered in the model developed by the knowledge engineer, and the knowledge user uses them, and uh, they may also provide more requirement to the knowledge engineer, and he must analyze them as well, and a knowledge provider also has the work of validating them, uh, and providing feedback to the knowledge engineer. So this is the roles. So domain is some terminology. So a domain is some kind of area of interest, interest like baking, food industry, photocopiers, car manufacturing, etc. Task is something that needs to be done by an agent, right? So agent is the executor of tasks in the domain. So monitor a process, create a plan, analyze different behavior. There are tasks. As in the executor of a task in a domain, typically either a human or some software systems. So and the application is like the context developed by the combination of a task and a domain in which task is carried out by agent. So application domain is the particular area of interest involved in an application. So application task is the top level task that needs to be performed in a certain application. So not there is some knowledge system provides to solve real life problem using knowledge about the application domain and application tasks. Expert system, a knowledge system that solves a problem which requires a considerable amount of expertise when solved by human. So this is the first lecture on the introduction of knowledge. I hope you like it. Thank you.